Hello and welcome. Today we are taking a look at the RPK-556 magazine from ISD out of Bulgaria. Now these have actually been out for a minute, but it took me a minute to get around to being able to shoot these because I'm in a new space and had to get things sorted. But these on paper are really exactly what we've all been asking for, which is to say 45 rounds, which is actually how many they are. I'm not even going to try to monetize this video, so I'm not going to dance around that. They're 45 rounds. They are steel reinforced in the front, rear, and on the locking lugs in the top, as well as having a steel base plate. This is essentially just the 30 round standard ISD 556 magazine, but extended. Now it's extended a couple of inches. Honestly, it's not even that much, but it gives you 15 extra rounds of capacity, which is pretty significant. Weight-wise, it's actually more efficient to carry 2 of these and have 90 rounds than it is to carry 3 of these fully loaded. You save several ounces, which I think is really interesting. It's a much better and more ideal solution versus something like the quad stack. Like this is just more complicated, it's heavier, it's cumbersome to load, it's tedious, and it just doesn't inspire as much confidence. But these honestly seem like exactly what we were asking for, and so if you're interested in a bit more capacity, if you want it for competition needs or whatever, these are definitely worth taking a look at, in my opinion. I actually loaded this one several months ago, and because I thought I was going to be able to make this video before I had to move, and that was not the case. So it stayed loaded for quite some time, and so I inadvertently got to test out the feed lips under the full tension of all 45 rounds, and they didn't crack or split or have any issues whatsoever when I did get around to shooting them. So that's actually really good because I have not had that experience before with some other magazines that I have left loaded. So that bodes well. Now, regarding fitment, I will say that because these are coming out of Bulgaria, they are roughly AK-74 pattern, and in the Polish Beryl, they actually fit really well. They fit very nicely, no issues at all. And I think that this purple one just about matches the plum Tantal upper handguard that I've got on this guy, which makes it very fun indeed. That being said, for the Serbian pattern 556 AKs that I've got, it did fit, although with the usual sort of Bulgarian magazine caveats. It fit a bit better in my M85 than it did in my M90, but both of them were definitely stiff to begin with. So let's take a look at this one. And this one, I've had it for a minute and I've been playing with it, and I've taken it to the range a little bit, and so it's worked in so that it actually works pretty well now. But that is not the case when it first comes out of the packaging, which we will look at in a minute. So inserting this one, there's much more resistance, and removing it takes a lot more effort than it does out of the Beryl. Certainly can be done, but it is not as smooth as I would ideally prefer. I'm sure I could actually take a little bit of sandpaper and shave off a little bit off of the rear lug, and that would help. But because of the style of rear lug, while it is steel, it's a thin sheet of steel over a polymer lug. So the entire lug is not steel, so you don't have as much meat to remove to play with as you do with, say, the factory Serbian steel mags where it's entirely steel. So let's take a look at it in my M90 here. I will say that this is the one that fits in the tightest, and I can lock it in, but I do have to really kind of squeeze on it, and then it's hard to remove, or I can really just hit it and it definitely locks in that way. Again, this is after wearing it in a little bit, and it's to a point that it's good enough for me for now, but I actually have a brand new unopened one of these. And so I'm gonna open it up and test it in my M90 to show you guys exactly what it's like when you first get it, because there is definitely a wear-in process that I'm still undertaking with these two. And this one will demonstrate how much it has to go. So this one's fresh out of the wrapper for the M90. Yeah, so it's way more. Yeah, it's basically in order to get it to lock, I have to hit it at this point. But as it wears in, it should become much more like this guy, where you can actually just pop it in with a bit more gusto, but it does go in without having to necessarily hit it every single time. Whereas this one, yeah, still kind of got to hit it at this point because it's not yet fully worn in. So that is a thing with the Serbian pattern rifles, that with these magazines, because they're Bulgarian, that is kind of a thing. But it is definitely possible. And so if you have a Serbian pattern one and you are interested in these, I'd say get some, play with them. You might have to modify them a little bit. They won't work perfectly out of the packaging, but they certainly can be made to work. That being said, we can take a look at shooting these. So in my M90, they actually worked just fine. Again, there's a little bit of wearing in that's still happening, but it's not anything less than some other magazines. And for the capacity that it's gaining and the fact that it otherwise works perfectly once it's in the gun, I think that that is a trade-off that I'm currently more than willing to make, considering that there are zero other viable alternatives that are not something stupid like a quad stack. Similar to the M90, the M85 also worked very well. I always think of it that because the M85 gets to leave the factory with a double stack magwell, that the magwell is more consistent and it's a bit wider than the M90, because the M90 has to come into the country with a single stack magwell and then it's opened up in the country. So I think that the factory M85 magwell is better. And because of that, in my experience, it actually works well with a slightly wider variety of magazines, but it also has no issues whatsoever with the RPK style 556 magazines from ISD. I think that this looks really good and is a whole lot of fun. If nothing else, it's fun. So I'm very happy that these are available and that they do work well in my M85. And of course, the Beryl, being a bit closer to the native AK-74 spec, does indeed work with this magazine, and it worked very well in this gun. So all things considered, I think that these are excellent. If you have experience with the normal 30 round ISD magazines and they worked well for you, then absolutely I would say pick some of these up. They're like less than $20. I think they're currently an exclusive at the warehouse that sells gun magazines, so you're gonna have to just Google that and figure it out. I had good experience with these. I think that they are a great addition. I like to see them on the market. I'm very satisfied with their price point as well as the value that they're bringing. And I think that They are basically exactly what everyone was asking. That being said, these have been available for a minute and other folks have also had really good experiences with them. I don't recall seeing anyone who's had a negative experience with them thus far. I may be out of the loop on that, but if so, let me know. But otherwise, these seem to be very viable. So thumbs up for me. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you next time.